Good morning, everyone. Thank you to the Q Cancer team for this wonderful opportunity. I feel very fortunate to be awarded with the NHMRC Investigator Grant Year 1 scheme in 2023. And it's truly an honor to be the first presenter today to share some of my experience in applying for these grants. That said, I'm actually very well aware that our Q Cancer researchers and alumni are a community of lots of excellent scientists, and many of you already have very effective methodologies in writing fellowships and grants. So borrowing an old Chinese saying, what I'm doing here today basically is throwing out a brick in hope to attract a gem. I hope by sharing my experience, we can have some great discussion. At the very beginning, I would like to introduce a little bit about myself. I did my bachelor study in Wuhan University in China, and then I come to Australia, to Melbourne, and study my PhD in Monash University, and I undertaken a couple years of postdoc training in ANU and UQ. And in 2023, I was very lucky to be recognized by the UQ Hero Program and also Q Cancer grants, NHMRC Investigator grant to establish my own research team. So at the beginning, please allow me to clarify that what we are going to see today is mostly my personal experience. It might not be some kind of universal applicable tips, but I hope some of these can be a bit helpful for your application. And of course, without recognition of the reviewers of my application, I will not be here. So I would like to first express my gratitude for them as well. So at the beginning, I would like to provide a bit overall landscape of my application, which is about the document to be prepared and how I manage my timeline, and a bit thought about the readership I got. So just in case you haven't get too much information about the NHMRC Year 1 Investigator Grant, it's a 5-year fellowship. It provides you the salary plus 50,000 project costs each year. It's not too much money, but it's a very important vehicle to promote the establishment of an emerging research program and facilitate the transition to semi-independence. So this is the snapshot showing the major contents to be prepared, and I will share my experience in some of the key components. So about the time management, when the time comes to the end of 2022, which is about 4 years for me post my PhD, I feel it's time for me to officially, give some shots for the major fellowship. So I started from writing ARC DACRA first, and during this process, I further developed the proposal writing skills by attending multiple workshops here in UQ. And by the end of that year, I submit my ARC DACRA, and I start to think about what the NHMRC Investigator Grant Program should look like, because ARC and NHMRC, they have a bit different scope in terms of the kind of research they want to fund. And after the Christmas holidays, I started to write the proposal, and by early Feb, I finished the first draft, and I sent them for peer readership. And at the same time, I started to write the track record on all the impact. And by March of 2023, I submitted everything for internal review after a couple rounds of final revision, and we submitted. So I would like to emphasize a little bit that I was very fortunate to have the advice from both senior mentors, including my postdoc supervisor, Professor Duyu, and Professor Gabriel Bells, who provide very important suggestions from a reviewer perspective for my application, which is so, I feel like I benefit so much from that. And also, I was lucky that I had some peer mentors who are a couple years ahead of me in their career stages, and then they also provide very constructive advices for me They are Dr. Kelvin Tung and Dr. Hao Song, both at UQ, and they are both NHMRC EO2 fellows now. And also our RDM, Research Development Manager, by that time, Andrew gave me lots of important help. I remember my application had like 3 or 4 rounds back and forth with him just for the revisions, and which really enhanced the readability of my application at the end. At the end, I would like to say that that was a very good month of writing. I was very concentrated, and it's a perfect excuse for jumping out lots of other duties. And during this process, I also expand my research life from pure lab work to more like community engagement. And I hope everyone will enjoy it. So in part 2, I would like to share more about how I did for the major sections in more details. So first, we need to know what the marking for this fellowship, where the track record is very heavy percentage, and but the proposal is also very important for the reviewers' first impression. So about proposal, I would like to go very brief, actually, because I'm very sure that every Q Cancer Grant recipient today, you are all very good at proposal writing. I just have one personal view about the proposal for this fellowship, which is focused on the research vision. Because it's not like the NHMRC Ideas Grants, you only have like 5 pages. For providing people a 5-year program. So what we need to do is to showcase the blueprint of a promising research program that you want to build up, and which you try to convince the reviewers that it is deserved to be sponsored. Now it's the major part for me, I think, which is the track record or impact writing. It has the following contents: category level justification, career context, career disruption, top 10 research impact. So the track record part is also where I think we will see like lots of drastically different patterns of successful applications. So for me, when I was preparing for it, I requested 4 successful applications from the UQ library. But then they are all very different. They have different strengths. Some of them have very high H-index, very high citations. Some already have very established international profiles, or some of them have published very top publications. And to be honest, by that time, it was a bit demoralizing for me. But then I tried to focus on developing my own narratives instead of trying to mimic some other people's successful stories. I think that's very important for everyone. So then we come to the career context. So sometimes it's a bit confusing with career disruption, but we know that NHMRC, they have very clear definition of what career disruption is, which include care leave, maternal leave, and the illness. But you can still utilize the career context space to justify those things like actually impede your productivity. And in a career justification place, you need to clarify that why you are eligible for the EO1 but not EO2. So for me, my case was that by that time I was 4.3 years post my PhD. I was level B, and I was leading a subgroup in our lab and seek to become semi-independent. And you can also refer to the NHMRC's guideline for their expectation for the EO1 stage. So once again, regarding the career context, for me, I specify that particularly the pandemics of COVID and the border closure in Australia really impede my productivity, because I was basically just stuck back in China and cannot come back to my work. After that is the publication, which is top 10 in 10. And for this section, we need to list the top 10 publications in the past 10 years. So the idea is to focus on the quality, but not the total numbers of the publications. And it's very important that we use this section. They have some space, so we leverage the space to explain the importance of these publications. So in the explanation, we have 1,000 characters. So we need to make sure that we make the full use of these spaces. For me, I come up with the template for that, which include standard metrics, impacts, author's contribution, and how these publications fit into the whole research program. I think the template should work because some of the description I had in my application was later used as examples in the 2023 UQ Research Office workshop. By that time, I was a bit wondering which publication they actually used for the workshop. And I check out the slides. It turns out it's actually this small publication I got from my owner study, and this is the comments from research office that usually people don't talk about the owner's publication, but for year one stage we can be bit creative. So it's a bit interesting. So basically, what I want to convey is that in the top 10 publications, especially for us in the year one stage, they don't have to be all top journal publications because lots of time we got some papers like this one. They are not highly, very high impact or highly cited paper, but we still need to justify the impact of this research for field. So for me, this one is not very highly cited, but then it was specifically cited by a group from Johns Hopkins University for vaccine development. And they appear really like it because they cited twice in 2 different studies. And more importantly, fit this research into my research program is fundamental research for my top 1 publication, come up later. So the last part of my talk is about the research impact. At this stage, we can choose one from the following 4 kinds of impact to elaborate. And because my research is very basic in knowledge, so I choose the knowledge impact. And now it comes to a bit confusing part for many people, because here we have 3 sections: the reach and significance, research program's contribution, and applicant's contribution to the research impact. Once again, I would like to say that my understanding is that the style and narratives for these 3 sections is also very individually dependent. So I would like to share what I did for each section, but I don't want to go to technical details and jargons of my field to overwhelm everyone before we entering to a research presentation. So I came up with an analog, which is the TV show Game of Thrones. I hope if you don't like it, hope you don't mind. So imagine if the whole TV show, Game of Thrones, is the research field, then my research program is several episodes of it. Then the reach and significance could be like this. This is what I did for my application. Just imagine it's all papers, not the episodes of the the TV show. So you can say something like this. Game of Thrones is a great TV series in modern history. It has been watched by many people. It's particularly the episode 1 of season 1 and episode 3 of season 2 is very important because I play very important roles to produce them. And here you can cite some collaborative evidence. And for the research program's contribution, you just emphasize your work to this program. You can say that the episode 1 of season 1 is a great opening, how they are important. Season 2, episode 3 is the climax of the season. And then you have the collaborative evidence accordingly. So for the applicant's contribution, it would be like this. In the first episode, I was associate director. I direct the scene XYZ. I found the actor, to play the major character. these kind of things. And in season 2, episode 3, in the second work, I become more senior. I become the leader of this project. I'm a director and a writer, and I create the story XYZ. And as a corroborative evidence, I was awarded the best director. So I hope the analogy makes some sense and didn't confuse everyone. So essentially what I want to convey is that in these 3 sections, we will keep emphasizing the same works, especially for us, EO1. Of course, in this case, there will be some content with a bit overlap, but we really need to find the different focus in each section to describe these works. So once again, the summary of my understanding in this application is essentially to showcase an immersion program that needs to be funded. And it's a great opportunity for us as well, essentially, to organize our thoughts about what kind of a research program we want to build up in the future, what kind of a scientist we want to be. And finally, good luck with everyone's application. Once awarded, it is time to think about the next fellowship. That's what I get advice from many senior mentors. So I'm also here today to learn from Lauren for the tips on EO2 writing. I'm very looking forward to that. At the end, I would like to express my gratitude to Q Cancer again for this great opportunity and for supporting my research on top of this investigator grant, which really facilitates the growth of my team. And we have several manuscripts to be submitted by this year, and fingers crossed we can share it with everyone next year. So that's everything from me. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to be sharing my experiences with the NHMRC Investigator Fellowships. Like Anthony said, I applied in the EL2 category, and I've just started my fellowship this year. Before I really get stuck into it, I thought I would tell you, I guess, a bit about my journey in research, because I think it's really shaped my investigator application, and I think it'll help you understand how I put my application together. So I started my research career as a research assistant at QIMR Berghofer in a human genetics lab. And when I first started, I was part of something called the Australian Cancer Study, and I had roles that included sample processing, DNA extraction, and getting samples ready for sequencing and performing some of that basic Sanger sequencing. And straight away, I was hooked on research, and I knew this was something that I wanted to do long term. So after getting some experience in this sort of human genetics space, I started working in a drug discovery lab. And this lab really focused on cancer biology and chemistry. And their main focus was trying to identify new compounds that could be used as anti-cancer drugs or anti-inflammatories. They did a lot of work with different cell lines and a lot of cell culture. So I got a lot of experience in that space when I was in that lab. This is the point at which I did my PhD. I was 100% sure this was the career path for me. I started a PhD looking at familial melanoma. So I was really trying to understand what inherited genetic variants could cause a high risk of melanoma in particular families. I was lucky enough to be able to work with the Queensland Familial Melanoma Project, which was a huge study across Queensland with hundreds of families. And equally as important, I was part of an international consortium. So during my PhD, I really had the opportunity to show leadership at an international level. I got to sort of lead my component of the project. And this is something that I've really tried to highlight in my fellowship applications that have come after this. So it's really, I guess I'm trying to say is just understanding, I guess, your different experiences and how you can highlight them when you start to write a fellowship. So I published a couple of papers during my PhD, and straight after that, I applied for an NHMRC early career fellowship. So this was the scheme that came before the current Investigator grant. So it's sort of the older model. My fellowship was all about implementing precision medicine for the treatment of metastatic melanoma. So it followed really nicely on from my PhD and some of the work I'd done there. Those schemes at the time were all about fostering career development, but also encouraging new experiences in a different research environment. So this is the point at which I moved labs. So I joined the surgical oncology group, which is here at the Fraser Institute at the University of Queensland. And I took my fellowship with me. And so the surgical oncology group has a real cancer genomics focus. So where I had a really good background in genetics and genetic sequencing, I've sort of shifted into this genomics space. Our group focuses heavily on melanoma, but also on upper gastrointestinal cancers and esophageal cancer specifically. We work closely with clinicians. So a lot of our research focuses on positive outcomes for patients. Our lab work is based in genomics, and it's sort of the backbone of a lot of what we do. And we really try to integrate what we learn in the lab back into the clinic. And so in my new lab, I've sort of developed all these additional skills, and my work has really evolved. And so after 4 years in the surgical oncology group, it was time to apply for another grant, another fellowship. And so I applied for the NHMRC EL2. So I applied and I was unsuccessful, like so many people. So don't let it deter you if you apply and then, you apply again. I nearly didn't submit again, but you've got to be in it to win it. And sometimes it pays off. So my new fellowship, which has just started this year, is all about enabling precision medicine for esophageal cancer patients. So I've had a bit of a change of focus. So even though a lot of the work that I had done up until this point was really melanoma focused, I've used this fellowship to really kind of sort of change gear a little bit. My proposal is in 3 main components. The first is looking at germline risk factors for esophageal cancer. And what I've done is I've drawn on the knowledge that I gained during my PhD and my previous labs, and I'm applying it to a new disease. And I've really emphasized that in my application to really show that I've had impact in a particular space, and I'm going to use that knowledge in a new area that is more under-researched. The second part of my proposal looks at patient-derived organoid models. So this is 3D cell culture, essentially. And so I've used some of the experience that I've had as a research assistant and in some of those labs, and I've drawn on that knowledge and I've created a new research focus based on that. And the third component is looking at image biomarkers. So for our patients, we have a lot of clinical data, and that underpins AIMS 1 and 2. But part of that data is also the PET-CT imaging and the H&E scans. So we're incorporating those image biomarkers to try to predict or prognosticate in a better way for patients. So what was really important to all of this is some of the funding that I've had along the way. And in particular, Cure Cancer, I've been supported by Cure Cancer on 2 grant applications, and it's been absolutely pivotal for this fellowship. So my most recent Cure Cancer grant supported AIM 1 of this fellowship, and that helped with some of the like laying the groundwork for this AIM. They've also supported some of my work in AIM 3 for the image biomarkers as well. So it's been absolutely crucial for my research program moving forward. The other thing I'll say is that I've been fortunate enough to collaborate with clinicians and with other research groups at different institutes. I never say no to collaborating because I think that really builds, I guess, the breadth of your research. And that's important for fellowships. Okay, so I just thought I'd take the next couple of slides just to give you some of my tips, and I'll try not to overlap what Anthony has said, which was fantastic. So I'll just sort of try to give you a different side of it. I think what's really important is understanding the eligibility criteria. And that seems so simple to say, but I think understanding whether you apply in an EL1 or an EL2 category can be really crucial. Make sure you read the guidelines. They are lengthy, but there's some really important information that you need. And then when you do go through the guidelines, really focus on the scoring matrix. So this tells you what's expected for each score. So look at what how a score of 7 is described, and really try to pitch your project according to the keywords that they're using there. I've been reviewing for ideas grants for the past few years. And as a reviewer, you'll often get, a stack of 20 grants to read. And so you'll have the matrix sitting next to you, and you're really trying to understand how each project fits against that matrix. So really understand the criteria by which you'll be scored, because that's what your reviewers will use. And then the last point here is choose your keywords wisely. And this was something my research development manager said to me. So this is sort of an unmarked part of your application. But the importance of your keywords is that it helps determine who will review your application. And so you want someone that will understand the work you do and understand its significance and its potential impact. So choosing words that's likely to really get the right reviewers is important. In my first unsuccessful application, I didn't really spend very much time on my keywords. I just sort of banged them out as I got to that section. But the second time around, I really thought hard about them and I changed them. And I think the feedback I got really reflected that a different panel of people had looked at my application. Now, Anthony's really given us a lot of feedback on track record, so I'm just going to scoot through it a little quickly. But what I wanted to emphasize was your track record is all about your past achievements. So it's really showing what you've done up until this point, and trying to weave it into a story that showcases you as a researcher. Anthony gave us some really great feedback on the top 10 in 10, so I won't spend time on that. For the research impact, I just wanted to say that for my application, I showed my research impact in the melanoma space. So even though my proposal was on esophageal cancer, and that's where my program is heading in the future, I actually showed my impact in a different space. And that was still received quite well. And so I highlighted that I had these achievements in melanoma research, and that I would use these techniques and this knowledge and apply it somewhere else. So don't feel like you have to talk only about one thing. It's okay to have an impact in a different space. So the next big section is knowledge gain. So this is really about looking to the future. This is what are you going to do in the next 5 years, and what is your future direction? And this is really just the proposal. What I would say is that your first page is so important. You've got to really define your hypothesis, your aims, and your objectives so they're easy to understand. If you can, highlight how this project aligns with national or global health priorities, because it really frames your work and your vision. Make sure your methods are robust and feasible and justified. And if you can, showcase your collaborators. They'll have complementary expertise, and it really shows feasibility in your project if you can show that these other people will be adding to this program. And then make sure you're discussing your expected outcomes, how it translates, and the impact that it's going to have. And these are just my final tips. Anthony said a lot of this and he demonstrated it really well. Start early because the application's really big. Go to any information sessions you can because they're really, really helpful. If you can get some successful past applications, absolutely read them. Some of this is a bit formulaic and you get some ideas as to how you can, lay out your proposal for a nice flow. Use really clear language. Try not to use too much jargon or too many discipline-specific acronyms because it makes it difficult to read for people outside your field. And then finally, seek feedback early and get as much feedback as possible from your peers and from your senior mentors and from people outside your field because it really improves your application. And then finally, good luck to those applying. Yeah, I wish you all well. So that's it from me.
Thank you so much, Lauren and Anthony. Luis has a question in the chat. How far in advance do you usually start preparing your grant applications? Any suggestions or thoughts?
Personally, I try to start as early as I can, particularly for the big ones. I think often what catches you is that you think you've got a lot of time, but then the university's got some deadlines and you run out of time really quickly. So, I mean, I think months in advance, you should already be thinking about what you're going to say and starting to put some points together. Anthony, do you have anything else that you'd add?
Yes, yeah, I agree. And I think it's also depends on each people's own time management preference. Because I saw some successful applicants, they start like very early, like half a year in advance. But I also see someone submit last day, they also got it. So I think it really depends on what kind of style suits you the best.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like I just follow the guidelines of the university because they set the internal deadline with the reason. So I feel like as long as you can get the full draft done by the first internal review deadline, that means you are on a right track. That's my experience. Yeah.
Amazing. And Anthony, would you be able to comment on your experience with the ARC DECRA fellowships which are restricted for university applicants, but there might be some people in the online that could potentially be interested on them too?
Yes, yeah, of course. Yeah, I was lucky that in 2023 I also got the ARC DECRA, but because it conflict with the NHMRC Investigator grant, so it was relinquished. So it was quite different compared to the year one application. I think the proposal is much longer by that time, and also in DECRA you have a rope section, which is like an expanded version of the investigator grants track record. So in there, we really need to come up with a very fulfilled narratives of our research story, including those we get from the PhD postdoc and your research vision in the future altogether. So yeah, the form is kind of different, but I think essentially the content we want to showcase in the application is also similar in some way. But what we need to keep in mind is that ARC, they don't like very heavily medical content. So if we want to apply for both of these themes, for the ARC, we might need to tailor the scope a little bit to make it more focused on the basic discovery. Like if it's immunology, maybe focus on cell biology instead of the medical application sort of things. Yeah.
Incredible. Sarah has a question in the tool. Sarah, would you like to read the question?
Sure. I was just wondering if you thought there was anything people should be really careful to avoid doing or shouldn't do, especially in your experience as a reviewer. Is there something that like really puts you off?
Great question.
Yeah, okay. So what would put me off sometimes, I guess, is when a proposal's really hard to read. sometimes you see them and there's just like a wall of text. A diagram goes really far. It's really nice to highlight your point with a couple of really good figures. I think, again, like using a lot of jargon, if you've got a reviewer that's outside your field, it makes it really hard to read, or a lot of acronyms. I read one where they'd used the same acronym but for different things, and I think they hadn't realized. So I think just the readability is so important. So that would kind of be my top tip, is just make it really readable. And I think a good way to focus on that is getting someone outside your field to read it. Like if they can understand it, you've got it right.
That's a great question. And I was wondering, what's your opinion in terms of including like preliminary data, either published or unpublished in investigator proposals? Is this something helpful or not really? Would you just put diagrams?
I think it can be helpful. I think the trick is that you don't have much space to write about your full program. So I think trying to be succinct in all of those categories is really important, because describing a 5-year program in only a few pages is really hard. Yeah. What do you think, Anthony?
Yes, I think for myself, I feel like I feel more comfortable if I have very compelling preliminary data. Especially from those paper impressed, you make those figures for the journals already. But I also actually saw some people very successful experience. They didn't put any figures. It's all diagram, because those diagrams really clearly demonstrate what the research program gonna look like in the future. I think that's some of the reviewers will like. So I think I feel like it really depends on your own successful experience before. Yeah,
that's a great advice. And and for who is starting, like who, for example, finished the PhD not long ago and it's starting the postdoc journey, how do you think this person could start enriching the track record in terms of leadership?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. I think some ways that you can demonstrate leadership is through committee membership, for example. I think what's really key is not just joining a committee, but having a role and really demonstrating impact through that role. I think when you're filling out, your leadership section, I think what you're trying to demonstrate is not just that you went to a few meetings, but actually that you accomplished something through that. So I think, if you can highlight mentoring of other students or other early career researchers, or supervision of other people in your team, that's a really great way to show leadership. I think if you can get involved with conferences or conference organization, that's another great way. Yeah. Anthony, do you have any others that you would suggest?
Yes, I totally agree. And regarding this point, I really need to thank Lauren again, because I think I'm an example of the people like really focus on the research work, but doesn't pay attention to developing this leadership. Sometimes especially in the first couple of years of postdoc, it's very stressed. You really have to get data out. But once I decide to, seek this kind of semi-independence, apply for this fellowship, I found that I really need to catch up to accumulate this kind of leadership and track record. So what I feel is like I have to step out my comfort zone. It's not really about my own research now. It's like to get engaged with the whole research community. So I was trying to actively seek this opportunity, like Laura mentioned, especially involving the like conference sort of things. So I went to our early ecamp activities. Yeah, and Lauren was there. And then I was like, oh, is there anything I can help with? And Lauren said, oh, we happen to have a conference in TRI. They looked for some early career researchers to contribute to it. I was like, oh, I'm definitely in. So that's a very important, because it's a very big conference within our institute. And by joining the committee to organize it, it really developed my leadership. I mean, it's not just can put something into a track record. It also really developed my communication skills, and this kind of experience is fantastic. So when I look back, I feel like if I can do this a couple years earlier, it might be even better for my deep career development. So I really encourage everyone, if you are the people like me before, like you really focus on your own work, it's time to step out the comfort zone and get involved in this great opportunity. It's very fantastic memories. Yeah.
And I'm going to add to that and say that being like heavily involved in some of these committees, particularly the EMCR committees, it's been so rewarding. And I think, I think it's really easy to get buried in the research because we love it. But definitely look for these other opportunities, because I think they really enrich your career. And I think, you meet so many people, and it's just, a great opportunity to kind of step out of that comfort zone. So yeah, highly encourage it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Those are great suggestions. Are there any other questions by the public present? You're welcome to ask any questions or comments if you have any observations you would like to put. While people are thinking, maybe I can throw a last food for thoughts for Anthony and Lauren. You both recently came from like a postdoc EMCR level to an independent group leader position nowadays. Are there any aspects on this transition that once you got this leadership position, you didn't think you would need, but now you feel like you wish you knew that before? So then you could share that with the others here, so they can start to get prepared for that future to come once they get their own independent positions.
Yeah. Do you want to start, Anthony, or will I jump in?
I think there's actually many, to be honest. So I was think back the first year I got this the title. It's actually very kind of stressed, because then there's the whole group gonna be rely on my strategic planning. But then the first challenge I encountered was actually about the students, because it actually as a new team leader, to getting good students more difficult than I thought. Yeah, so I think I spent like a whole year to just get my current PhD students join the team and start like a proper size group. So I would say that it's very important to learn from our the mentors at the beginning, before you're getting independent, to learn from them how they manage the team, especially when you have a couple of students. You have to catch up regularly. You need to make sure everyone is on the right track. So I think we need to think about that clearly, and sort out our strategy before we get this student. It's very different compared to if you are co-supervising or being daily supervisor for your supervisor. It's very different. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think your responsibility to your team changes, and you definitely take on more. I would say some of the things that catch you by surprise are how time-consuming, I guess, the administrative side of research can be. And there's this whole other thing that you've got to really learn and get good at. It can revolve around your ethics and your contracts, and there's all sorts of finance. So you have to really pick up a whole new skill set, I think, as you become a group leader and you have, your own research program. But it is fun.
Yeah, exactly. I think time management becomes so different challenges compared to what we did in the postdoc. In the postdoc, I saw I was very busy, but then it's nothing compared to what we had now. So busy. I wish I can manage my time more efficiently before, so I can get a smoother transition to the current position. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Any other questions from anyone? just before I close
Yep.
this session and give to Liz, sorry, did anyone say anything?
Oh, I was just going to ask a brief question, actually, if you've got time for one
Absolutely,
more quick
absolutely.
one. So in applications for things like Cure Cancer grants and some of the more cancer-oriented grants, we've got a big emphasis on consumer engagement. And I was wondering if that's something you actually include in your investigator grant applications, or you don't think that's the right place for that.
I think the role of consumers is always important, and I think where you can emphasize it, you should. I think absolutely if you've got consumers involved in your program, you could mention it in your investigator application, 100%. So yeah, that would be, I don't think there is a specific section where it asks for it, but I think that would be a very excellent thing to add.
Yeah. I think consumer involvement is something I learned in my Cure Cancer application, and I appreciate how important that is. But because my investigator grant is very like basic science oriented, but I know that nowadays like important grants like MRFF, they really emphasize on the involvement of the consumer. So I think it's I'm really fortunate to get this experience to engage with consumers through the Cure Cancer grant actually.
That's great. Thank you so much. Aoude, I noticed you were typing something. Did you want to ask a last question?
Oh, you're very observant, Fernando. My comment, great feedback, Lauren and Anthony. My only comment was I think consumer advocacy is going to be so important going forward. So I think, whether the application's needed or not, we should maintain those relationships.
Absolutely.
Because they communicate our research to the wider audience, and so they just echo what we do. And, if not directly, indirectly, we have benefits in working with consumers. And I know all of you already do, and that's why you're awarded Cure Cancer funding. But I think it's this sort of we can already see it at MRFF. I'm sure it'll be part of NHMRC in a couple of years, and developing those connections and sort of nurturing those relationships is important.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Aretha.
Thank you, Aoude. Fully agree. Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you so much, Anthony.